Hello, class. Today we are going to be doing a research project over the insects we have learned during our insect domain so far. For this research project, you will be able to use the different websites that are PebbleGo, BrainPop, and a new one, Kidtopia, which I will tell you about later. You may also use any of the resources that are in Miss Walton's library. However, you need to raise your hand in order to get permission to get up and get a library book. Before we begin, you need to make sure you have put in your information like we do at the beginning of our Do Nows. So you need to pick your teacher, pick what group you're in, and type your name. I will wait for you to do so. Next, you need to think about which insect from the ones we have studied that you would like to do your research project on. There will be resources on Miss Walton's whiteboard of different insects we have studied, and I will list a few so that you can hear some of them. Some of the different insects that you could choose to do your research project over that are also listed on the board are ants, crane fly, rhinoceros beetle, aphid, cicada, butterfly, honeybee, paper wasp, grasshopper, mosquito, praying mantis, dragonfly, housefly, cricket, and cockroach. If you remember another insect from our stories that I did not just list, please raise your hand and ask Miss Walton if you are able to use that insect for your project. Go ahead and pause the video now while you decide which insect to use and start typing it into the answer section on your research project form. Now that you have typed in the answer, your next portion on this page says sites you may use for your research are PebbleGo, BrainPop, and Kidtopia. Some of you may be familiar with PebbleGo, and the link to that website is included below. When you go to PebbleGo, you may click the link and then type in the name of the insect that you have chosen. If the insect pops up on your PebbleGo, you may do research there to answer the questions for your research project, which I will get to in a moment. On BrainPop, it is BrainPop Junior. So for this, you will click the link, again, same as PebbleGo. You will type in the name of your insect and see if there are some videos you may watch to learn more about that insect. However, for the next research site, Kidtopia, that is something we have not used before. So listen closely. Kidtopia is similar to Google, but it is for students in elementary school, which is you. So for Kidtopia, you can use it to type in the name of your insect and then make sure you scroll down a little ways because there may be some ads at the top. So scroll down after you have typed in the name of your insect, and there might be more videos, there might be articles, there might be links. If you are unsure if you have done this correctly, you can raise your hand and Miss Walton will come and check. Now, the different links that might pop up when you search on Kidtopia would be for National Geographic Kids and things like that, which are definitely school appropriate. So those are all great resources to use for your research project. Now, for this next section, you will fill in answers to the following questions about the insect you chose to research. So I will be reading these questions, but I suggest you pause the video every so often so that you can do your research and then play the video of my directions again so you can hear the questions. The first question is, what habitat does your insect live in? So for this, I would need to research and I need to remember what the meaning of habitat is. That's one of our vocabulary words. I remember that from our stories. And so I know that habitat means that it's where they live in. So it might be a tundra, it might be a forest, it might be a desert, things like that. If you have any questions, raise your hand. You will need to type your answer in a complete sentence. So if I were doing research on the aphid. If I were doing research on the aphid and I looked up, or I remembered from our story, which habitat the aphid lived in, I would begin typing into my answer portion. The aphid lives in the grasslands, because I remember that from the story. I would make sure that I have a capital letter at the beginning of my sentence and that I had a period at the end of my sentence. Remember, if you need to do research, pause this video, do research. Once you find the answer of the habitat that your insect lives in, then you will play this video again to hear what the next question is. Our next question reads, what does your insect eat? Remember, for this, you might need to do some research on Pebble Go or Kidtopia or Brain Pop, and you will need to use a complete sentence. So again, if I'm doing aphid, I would say the aphid eats, and then I would fill in the answer after I've done my research. For the next question, it reads, is your insect solitary or social? So for this question, you do not need to type an answer. You are just clicking solitary or social. So for this, I definitely need to do research, and I need to remember that solitary means that they live alone, and social means they live in a group. So the first one, solitary, lives alone. Social lives in a group. For our next section, it asks, what does your insect look like? So for this, I can look at a picture and I can describe my insect. So I need to start my sentence by saying, my insect looks like... Or I need to start writing description sentences like, my insect is green, if my insect is green. And then my next sentence might say, my insect has small eyes. You need to have descriptors like that to really paint the picture. Pretend that Miss Walton does not know what your insect looks like, and you need to tell me with your words what your insect looks like so that I can know. That is the goal of this question. Now, once you are finished with your research, you will practice writing a story on a piece of paper about your insect. You will write the name of the insect at the top of your paper, then begin your story. You should use the information from this page, your research project, and anything else you have learned from your research. Remember to go back and read your story that you have written to make sure it makes sense. Once you have written at least half a page, you can draw a picture of your insect. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. Remember, you can find paper at the front of Miss Walton's room. If you're not sure where that is or how to access that, then raise your hand. Miss Walton is here to help you with your research project. However, if many people have questions or are unsure, it might take Miss Walton a while to get around to everyone. So make sure you are showing lots of patience. And if you finish with your story and your picture, then Miss Walton will allow you to do more research on your insect. Let's have a great research project. Remember to work silently, but if you do have questions, raise your hand.